Dear Italy, I thank you for this visit, for your unwavering support for all of us, for Ukraine, for Ukrainians. I especially want to thank you, truly thank you, for your respect for our state, for our independence, for our territorial.
In the sun-drenched halls of Palazzo Chigi on April 15th, 2026, two leaders stood shoulder to shoulder, their handshake a quiet but powerful symbol of resilience amid the swirling currents of European politics. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, the steely-eyed architect of Italy's right-wing revival, welcomed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky with the warmth of a steadfast ally and the gravity of someone who understands that the fate of Europe itself hangs in the balance. This was no routine diplomatic courtesy. It was the latest chapter in a story that has reshaped the European Union's approach to security, sovereignty, and survival in the face of Russia's unrelenting aggression. As Zelensky concluded another leg of his tireless European tour, fresh from Berlin and Oslo, the Rome meeting crystallized Italy's unwavering commitment to Ukraine while underscoring the delicate tightrope of EU unity, defense innovation, and the long road toward lasting peace. Meloni, dressed in her signature tailored elegance, opened the joint press conference with words that echoed across the continent. "In these 4 years," she declared, her voice steady and resolute, "the position of Europe and Italy has always been the same, standing alongside Kyiv, its people and its institutions. It is not just a moral duty, but a strategic necessity because Europe's security is also at stake." There was no ambiguity, no hedging. For a leader who once navigated the skepticism of her own coalition partners, some of whom had flirted with softer stances toward Moscow, Meloni's message was crystal clear. Italy's support for Ukraine is ironclad, rooted not in fleeting sentiment, but in the hard calculus of continental survival. A divided West, she warned, would be the only true gift we could give to Moscow. Those words landed like a thunderclap in a Europe still grappling with internal fractures, from Hungary's vetoes on sanctions packages to lingering debates over the pace of Ukraine's EU accession. Zelensky, battle-hardened yet ever the charismatic diplomat, responded with gratitude that carried the weight of a nation under siege. He thanked Italy for its consistent backing since the first days of the full-scale invasion in 2022, recounting how Rome had delivered 12 defense aid packages, including the sophisticated SAMP/T air defense system in partnership with France. But the conversation quickly turned practical, forward-looking, and deeply collaborative. At the heart of their discussions was a bold new frontier in defense cooperation: drones. Meloni announced Italy's keen interest in joint production, stating, "Italy is very interested in developing joint production, especially in the drone sector in which Ukraine has become a leading nation in recent years." Zelensky, nodding vigorously, revealed that teams from both sides were already working out the specifics of a bilateral drone agreement. Ukraine's battlefield innovations, swarms of low-cost, high-impact drones that have rewritten modern warfare, were no longer just a military asset. They were becoming a strategic bridge to Europe's future defense industry. The drone deal was more than a technical agreement. It represented a profound shift in EU thinking. For years, Europe had relied heavily on American technology and leadership for its security umbrella. But with the war grinding into its 5th year and with transatlantic dynamics evolving under new US priorities, including a sharper focus on the Middle East, leaders like Meloni and Zelensky are forging a more autonomous European defense posture. Zelensky pressed the point on air defenses during the talks, emphasizing the urgent need for enhanced protection against Russia's relentless missile and drone barrages on Ukrainian cities. "We all need a truly effective defense system that can protect against any threats," he said. "War has changed." Meloni echoed this urgency, linking it directly to the broader European project. The pair discussed accelerating the EU's 20th sanctions package against Russia, currently stalled by Budapest, and pushing forward on the €90 billion loan facility for Ukraine that would stabilize Kyiv's economy and prevent a financial collapse that could ripple disastrously across EU markets. This meeting did not occur in a vacuum. It unfolded against the backdrop of a European Union that has transformed dramatically since Russia's tanks rolled across the border in February 2022. The war has forced Brussels to confront uncomfortable truths. Energy dependence on Moscow was a vulnerability, not a partnership. Fragmented defense spending weakened collective strength, and enlargement, once a slow bureaucratic process, had become an existential imperative. Ukraine's path to EU membership, long a distant dream, gained momentum under Meloni's Italy. During the talks, both leaders reaffirmed their shared vision for Kiev's integration, with Meloni stressing that Italy would continue doing its part to reach shared solutions that protect Kiev's sovereignty and ensure the solidity of the Euro-Atlantic alliance. Zelensky, who had also met Italian President Sergio Mattarella at the Quirinale Palace earlier that day, left Rome with renewed assurances that Italy viewed Ukraine not as a peripheral conflict zone, but as a frontline defender of European values. To appreciate the significance of this moment, one must step back and examine Giorgia Meloni's evolution within EU politics. When she swept to power in 2022 as Italy's first female prime minister, heading a coalition that included the Nationalist League and Forza Italia, many observers feared a pivot toward isolationism or even accommodation with authoritarian regimes. Her party, Brothers of Italy, carried historical echoes of post-fascist conservatism, and her coalition partners had voiced skepticism about endless Ukraine aid. Yet Meloni defied the caricatures. From her first days in office, she positioned Italy as a reliable pillar of NATO and EU solidarity. She visited Kyiv multiple times, co-chaired recovery conferences, and consistently advocated for military, financial, and humanitarian support. Her government contributed to energy resilience projects, reconstruction efforts, and even hosted international forums that brought global donors together for Ukraine's future. In Rome's view, supporting Ukraine was not charity. It was an investment in preventing the kind of instability that could flood Europe with refugees, spike energy prices, and embolden hybrid threats from the East. Zelensky, for his part, has mastered the art of shuttle diplomacy, turning personal charisma and moral clarity into tangible outcomes. His April 2026 tour, hitting Norway for energy deals, Germany for military consultations with Chancellor Friedrich Merz, and now Italy, reflects a strategy of relentless engagement. He knows that in EU politics, bilateral relationships often move faster than multilateral consensus. By securing commitments on drones and air defense from Italy, he is not only bolstering Ukraine's immediate battlefield needs, but also embedding Ukrainian expertise into Europe's industrial base. Ukrainian engineers and innovators, forged in the crucible of war, are now potential partners in a pan-European drone consortium that could rival global leaders. This collaboration extends beyond hardware. It builds human and technological ties that will outlast the conflict, fostering trust and interdependence. Yet the Rome summit also highlighted the tensions simmering beneath Europe's surface. Hungary's repeated blocks on sanctions and financing packages remain a thorn in the side of unity. Meloni, ever the pragmatic operator, has privately acknowledged understanding some of Prime Minister Viktor Orban's domestic pressures, election cycles and voter fatigue, but publicly she stands firm against any weakening of resolve. The €90 billion loan, delayed by Budapest's manoeuvres, was a key talking point, with both leaders agreeing that financial stability for Ukraine is inseparable from European security. A collapse in Kyiv's economy, they recognized, would invite chaos, migration surges, black market arms flows, and a propaganda victory for Moscow. Meloni's insistence on moving forward with fresh sanctions and economic pressure reflects a broader EU recalibration, from reactive aid to proactive deterrence. The conversation in Palazzo Chigi also touched on the wider geopolitical chessboard. The situation in the Middle East, with its own flashpoints involving Iran and shifting US priorities, was discussed as a parallel theatre where European interests must remain aligned. Zelensky emphasized that post-war global security must increase, not diminish, and that coordination among European capitals is essential to safeguarding the continent's way of life. Meloni concurred, framing the Ukraine conflict as a test case for the EU's ability to act decisively in an era of great power competition. A divided Europe, she repeated, hands Moscow exactly what it craves: hesitation, fracture, and eventual retreat. Looking ahead, the Meloni-Zelensky partnership signals a maturing phase in EU-Ukraine relations. Italy, as one of the EU's founding members and a G7 heavyweight, wields significant influence in shaping policy on enlargement, defense procurement, and reconstruction. Under Meloni's leadership, Rome has advocated for a just and lasting peace that prioritizes Ukrainian sovereignty over hasty compromises. Security guarantees, without Italian troops on the ground, as Meloni has repeatedly clarified, will likely involve robust multilateral frameworks, perhaps involving NATO enhancements or EU-led missions. Joint drone production could pave the way for deeper industrial integration, with Ukrainian factories supplying components and Italian precision engineering adding value.